We're all set? Okay. So this is Senate Appropriations, and this is going to be relatively brief. We're just kind of getting organized. And first of all, I would like to introduce Andrea Smith. This year, we discovered it was really hard to have the Appropriations Committee assistant also be responsible for putting together the budget document, because the House is working on that very bill. At the same time, you're trying to staff this committee. So the Joint Fiscal Committee reviewed a proposal from the Joint Fiscal Office. And so we now have a session employee to help us schedule and do our work.
Are we gonna get somebody trained again and then get ripped off again next year?
Right. All the well, one never knows what's ahead, does one? But Andrea may have educational plans that would make a difference too, so this might be just a nice opportunity.
We're a nice stepping stone.
We are. We would like to be known that way. And then coming in next week is a new employee, Grady Nixon, and he's going to be responsible for putting together the actual budget document, all the language, et cetera, as well as helping with publications. And he's got quite an interesting background in editing, so forth. So I think we're really lucky to have.
Is he from Kirby?
Yes, he is. And his mother is Amy Ash Nixon.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I miss her from Dickens.
And his sister is Laura Nixon, and she's a physician
All
assistant.
constituents?
I don't have Kirby anymore. Remember? Huh? So I got redistricted.
I'm just checking.
You're just checking. So yeah. So so those are some changes. So you're going to see some new faces, and want to welcome two new members of this committee, Andy and Virtually, who will serve as vice chair, and we expect you to take teeny tiny notes and then lose them and carry them.
I'll talk to Senator Mitchell about how to do that.
She had the most detailed notes. And
They were all in
it
her
was-
car though. She had like files out in her car.
Oh, well, she
Yeah.
did, yes. And then,
Little no.
and then certainly, yeah, veteran of the Senate, Senator Lyons, and I think this year we've had a lot of crosswalk between committees, so happy that she was wanting to actually serve on this committee, so that's great. And what we do normally is break the budget into sections, and then if something needs to be followed up or additional information or whatever, then whoever's that section sort of takes their responsibility. But as a committee, we tend to really all join in looking at programs and the data and the proposals and the money and so forth. But sometimes it's easy to say, would you follow up on that? Or if testimony goes on longer and people want more information, then we just have to go offline to do it because of the time constraints. So what we have here is the committee, how we've broken up the budget assignments. And the two on the right are really what Senator Fallon had and Senator Nick had. And so we can just, you know, if you're willing, the people that have what they have, Phil, in light of your role as pro tem, you might want to think about lightening a bit.
Yeah, I could.
So you could either switch with one of the other, you know, like what Becca did, or.
Well, I'd like to keep higher ed, and then of the general government stuff,
Okay.
I'm happy to do maybe you know, a third of that, and then if we could split the remainder between a couple of people.
Okay. So you do the general education? It's all kind of a package, I must admit.
Where is general? No, I think that's under Becca.
Oh, wait a minute, I thought you said you wanted higher ed.
Higher ed.
Sorry, okay, I need to.
Well, what I could do is I could do higher ed and general ed.
Okay.
And,
Well, would labor go better with commerce and?
I think it would, I think it would. Mhm.
okay, so if we move labor over and then move gen ed over to me,
And then, general government, it sounds like a lot, but those are relatively, many of them are relatively small budgets, depending. So this is, then we've got commerce and development, and then we've got the general government. You want, housing and conservation, seems like it probably should go with commerce and development. So, Phil, we're giving you higher ed and general education.
yeah,
And then, what about you, Andy and Ginny? You want to pick up?
I'll defer to the senior senator on what she wants to do. My only thing is that.
Do you want the natural resources?
I'm glad to do that.
Okay, I was gonna say you certainly got a lot
Yeah.
of background in that. And then Andy, you pick up the general government and.
My only concern with general government is within agency administration, I think, is the Department of Public Service where I work. And
why don't I take that?
Yeah.
Agency of administration,
just for the,
yeah,
I don't want to have a conflict of interest.
No, public service department?
I think they're, I don't see them anywhere else. I think they have their structure, because they're a department as
A part of that agency.
agency. They're not their own agency.
We'll work that out.
Public service departments, protection, which is, Senator Starr's.
Oh,
So you don't have a conflict.
okay, good.
I don't think
Sorry.
so.
why don't I also take libraries?
Oh, you just want all the,
All the fun stuff.
all the, all that.
All the academics.
You know what I'm trying to read right now?
What?
George Hegel's philosophy of history.
Oh, wow.
And you know what? I don't understand half of what he says.
Don't bother.
But he loves work. He loves words. It's like I read a sentence, I think, oh boy, all those, it's so impressive. What's it mean? So let's go back to, so Ginny's gonna do natural resources and the AHS other, you wanna just take that right-hand column?
Yep.
Okay. And then Andy, we're going to give you general government and commerce and development
And labor?
and labor.
And minus libraries.
Yeah. take
And
that.
agency of administration.
No,
No, we decided, yeah.
Oh,
that's not a
Westman.
conflict.
oh, I see, okay.
Because,
Then just libraries.
yeah, we'll take out the libraries. And,
So we took ethics away from Senator Bruce.
Yeah, please don't make an issue.
Okay.
I'm just saying, it just was noticed.
And I did have a chance to send Senator Sears, who was with us. And
Happy to keep what I got.
And he indicated that he would like to just continue with what he's got. And then you'll find that we do an awful lot of work across boundaries. We don't usually get into, oh, that's my section of the budget, to be honest, to be willing to share. So we'll redo this, and so Andy's got general government minus libraries, and then we'll pick up commerce and development. And then Bill's gonna do higher education, general education, and libraries. And Ginny will do AHS other and the natural resources. And I think housing is gonna be such a big issue that probably we'll all, but
I think that's what I was gonna say, there'll be
Probably,
pieces
yeah.
of that
Yeah.
that are specific to natural resources, but everybody's gonna have.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I got that all done.
so we'll redo we'll do the chart because then we haul it out periodically and say, who's got that section? And generally, even those who have it can't remember what they do. Senator Sears, you had a comment?
No, I was just agreeing with you, Madam Chair.
Oh, well, that,
I'm just anxiously awaiting the election of a clerk.
Oh, well, do we have to elect a clerk, or does a chair, can the clerk serve at the pleasure of the chair? And if it's the latter, the chair would like to have Senator Westman continue as our
Second.
clerk. Is that,
Or-
He's done such a wonderful job. I was hoping that he would stay on.
well, he has done such a wonderful job that.
Yeah, even during a pandemic, he was able to,
No, I was the clerk during the pandemic.
who was?
Let's let the credit go where it,
I was relieved of the job for
2 years.
2 years.
But now that you've moved into a higher,
And actually Chrissy did all the work.
so that's why we're very fortunate that we have Andrea. She will help us.
Now,
But you never do the
work for you, Richie. Don't you worry,
And then
I'll vote for you.
Then this other document, which we all chairs got, and you don't have to go through it, but we sometimes, I think, we lose track of how many reports that we have.
All of them?
Well, these are the ones that have to come to Senate appropriations. It's not all of them. And so what
Is there only
I haven't
Senate
either.
appropriations?
Yeah, that's right. So what I feel an obligation that anytime that we ask for a report, we are obligating resources. These reports take staff time and resources. And too many times, we don't utilize the report. So what I would like is for your sections of the budget, if you would look through and see what reports that we're getting, and make a recommendation. Sometimes we put them in place. For example, they might have been in place for a number of years and they're pro forma, but is anybody using it? So you don't need to do it now. But I wanted you to have the benefit of this document to see exactly what report to this committee. And if they have utility, then we should have the benefit of it. And there are a number of reports that are coming to us. For example, and we've had a lot of discussion around the fact that the deputy sheriff's offices a number of years ago made a selection of which retirement plan to join. Some of the ones that joined the state employees would now like to be able to go back or have a option of going into the municipal plan. So last year we had a study done on what it would cost and what are the policy implications of, for example, that particular proposal. So we have, that's the teacher's contribution, but we have a report back that would talk about what is the price tag, what are the policy implications. And so there are some that are just one time, but some that are ongoing. And I would ask if there's something in here that we're just doing, routinely, and think about, should we think about, or can we get the information on an as-needed basis rather than a report? So that's all I was asking for this, is just take a look and then.
Are these reports on our webpage, or they haven't come in yet, or we just go through what's here?
I think they'd be on, would they go on the, wouldn't they go on, they all go through the
There's a legislative council has a reports
legislative
page.
council, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where I would think they all are registered, logged in.
Sometimes they get sent in.
Yeah,
Well,
they,
no, but they aren't, is the child care and early financing independent council final study?
That's true.
That's,
Sometimes.
not, but that's not the new study.
what page do you want?
I'm almost 62, over now I don't. I'm kind of in the middle of it.
I don't know whether, I haven't gone through this myself, so I don't know whether it's the one report frequently annual or other. Is it, what is it, note over to the right on that one?
Other.
The other report, which, theoretically, we would say should be something that we utilize, and that is that very thick report that comes out annually from the Chief Performance Officer. That report has also been the subject of some critique by the auditor's office, saying that it is a utility. It's a huge amount of time to compile it. There's no correlation between what government might have done and, that particular, because these are population level. And then we've created an oversight committee, and which is GAC. And some people have found that to be less than beneficial. And yet, if you look at something, it seems to me every committee should be embedding that analytical look in all the policy areas as they come up and the funding. So what are we paying for? How is that functioning? And what are we getting? Who's benefiting and how are they benefiting? And so there might be some times that we actually would say that got put in place, but at some point, really it's not an overlay. It should be how we actually do our work, how we take data, how we use it to make decisions. And so I don't know how many of you have looked through that report, but it's long, and we have a dedicated employee. Do you work in the governor's office? What? Oh, who am I offending here from the governor's office?
I'm on the GAC committee.
Oh, you are? Well, then we'll look to you for your thinking.
I think the committee should be disbanded.
Is there any,
Well, other people that have been on it have asked to not serve because they have a hard time connecting the time and the resources and the costs to.
I was there, and for an entire year, we discussed what our charge was. We didn't do anything except discuss what we should be doing. And I was like, this committee obviously doesn't need to exist if it doesn't know what it's doing and can't do it.
In fact, I think our report this year includes a recommendation to consider getting rid of the committee.
Okay, nice.
is there any cost analysis that goes with any of these reports?
No, but I think
Yes.
what I would say, and oftentimes if there's a report or a study committee, it comes in here because there's usually a per diem or somebody, to make sure that you get paid. And so we have an interest in taking a look at some of it, because doing it kind of one by one or committee by committee, you don't have a sense of what does that look like in the aggregate. But I would encourage all of us, unless you want a lot of nighttime reading, to say, what are we getting from this? How can we use it? Does it have utility? Is it no longer what the kind of information we need or presented in the way we need? And then we make some tough decisions that we really are not very good about. I think jettison some of perhaps. But for me, even though it may not carry a price tag, it carries a cost because of the staff work that is associated with the production of some of these reports.
Well, these may not even be long reports, might be 2 pages of cost accounting, money in, money out. I'm looking at the petroleum cleanup fund, for example. We may have a list of all of the below ground and above ground tanks that were replaced, how much they expended and how much they brought in. So does that need to be,
I don't know.
so they can just post some of these things?
And certainly we don't like lust. Which is leaking underground storage tanks, for those of you who are not familiar with that term. So take a look at this. And it just seems like as we start a new session, now's a good time to take a fresh look. And some of you are chairs of other committees, and I would say before you think we need to how we want to get information or whatever, think about what it means in the aggregate, because it'll all come in here at some point. So this is not, I haven't had a chance to look at it, but I wanted to share it with you and sort of share my thinking about what we should do, or to make a recommendation to the because I think that would come out of job ops, for example. But I think a lot of what, and I have no quarrel with the objective.
Yeah,
It's like, what are we spending our money on? Who is benefiting from it? And are we getting the outcomes that we intended? And those are key questions that we should be asking for, really all the way in which we appropriate. So that is this document. And other than that, that was really what I wanted to cover today. Get our budget assignments, and next week just lay out what we will do. So getting brief and
Tuesday, in the afternoon, we're free, but all morning next week we tied up.
we're on the floor at 9:30 on Tuesday.
but our calendar isn't very.
But there's no,
The training.
Well, this Tuesday, we have the sexual harassment training, right?
Yeah,
on Tuesday.
Tuesday, what, in the morning?
yeah, I think so.
We're open in the afternoon.
Yeah, so that won't impact us.
No.
And then, of course, there's e-board meeting, that's in the morning of the whatever day is that.
If I could just mention one thing on reports, I seem to remember a report on reports, and Senator White did a long
Yeah,
work on that, and I don't know what happened to the report on the reports. I always thought it was kind of odd, but there may have been an attempt to do away with them. I can remember having to check off boxes only on reports that I thought we should still have in judiciary.
Yeah, well,
We did that now.
I don't know whether the committee will do it, but I know that all of those generally come in here, so I think we have some oversight and
Yep.
we should exercise it.
that's the other thing, is there's purposeful redundancy in terms of who gets them. So you have 3 committees that get the same report. Getting rid of the report's one option. Is it possible to have fewer committees get the reports? Because like you say, they all land in here, just kind of a force of
But
habit.
then you still haven't addressed the fundamental question, and that is, do we want to obligate the resources and the costs associated with it, regardless of whether one committee gets it or 3? So it's just something to keep in mind as we're going through the session. And there may be some surprises on here. I don't know. The other thing is, a lot of the reports, half the report is just repeating what is in the statute that they're supposed to report.
Or the report from the year before.
And the other one, for example, I was just reading, it came from, and maybe Senator Lyons, your committee's gonna spend more time on it. It was on substance misuse,
Yeah,
the prevention advisory,
yes.
and it gave the recommendations, and I was like, well, what are we getting for what, because we have the chief performance, you're coming unglued there.
Yeah, I answered that.
We have chief performance, we have chief
Prevention.
prevention officer.
Chief prevention.
And how does that fit in? And if you want to see the outcomes, then you have to go into a different place because it helps inform the planning for other departments. It's like, but I'd like to know what we got.
Exactly.
And
That's gonna be on my agenda.
Okay.
That's a good one.
And so I was reading and it was like, well, what do I do? How does this tell me that whatever money we're currently using is effective? Right? Yeah. Any other thoughts people have got around?
So just in this, there's a couple of areas in here, and I'll just pick one out for the energy efficiency in state buildings. So if we're doing a 2-year capital bill, a lot of the stuff around the capital bill is goes into buildings. Why would that be an annual report, not every 2 years?
You want me to answer that?
No, I'm just saying, raising that as an issue.
Yeah, I agree. No,
Well, you can answer it if you want, but you might not be right.
probably wouldn't be. Well, because, and my question is, Yeah, or should that in fact be just sort of part of what's included in sort of your,
Absolutely.
so,
The update to the committee.
yeah. So just, any other comments, rhetorical or?
Whatever it was.
No? Okay.
Can I have, these were on Senator Sears' spot. I don't want to take Senator Sears' documents.
Oh,
No, I think he's probably been there, right?
He's already got them at home, Jane mail.
no, you may have them, and you may have that piece of fruitcake if you
Was that
want.
for me too? Max?
It's damn good.
Even though you were late.
Hey, go ahead, take my fruitcake.
Before you got around the table.
Just don't eat his chocolate.
And the other report, which I would draw your attention to, and that is something that we asked for, and it was in the budget bill last year, and that is a report on executive branch fees and fund deficits. And we have a statutory requirement that user fees are to be updated on a regular basis. Now, the administration has not decided that it wants to propose raising any fees. So we basically have been ignoring the statutory requirement. And this report gives you a sense of what those users' fees are. And the general concern is the longer you go without updating them, then when you do update them, the increase is much more extreme, and people really, and so.
And it'll fall on the next administration.
Is there a total in there of what we've foregone since we suspended?
Well, last time they did it, they did not add it up, but it's millions and millions of dollars. I think in transportation alone, it's 7 or 8 million.
Oh.
So my question is, do people want a copy of their own?
Could we get a link to, there must be,
I'm
If it's
sure
online, it would be.
it would be on, I can't have a hard time online with something that looks
Yeah,
like this.
okay. I like
Yeah,
So, if you would like to have a copy of your own, just let Ashley know and she can make it for you. And I'll leave it out here, so if you want to take a look and see. Transportation obviously is one of the biggest areas of foregone fees, but certainly when you get into Forest and Parks, some of those have been, we've had to do some increases. And the bigger question is not raising the fees and not generating, what then is that ultimate impact on either more general fund needed or more, special fund needed?
Somebody's paying the bill.
Or you could be doing more, if you had more. So like in transportation, maybe you could do more paving, or you could, fund the IT system that right now is, I think, maybe, I don't know, maybe using some of the, maybe some of the federal funds, I forgot.
Is there anything in there about the fees that have been increased as compared to those that have not? I mean, is there a difference in?
Well, we have not had an overall, there's only been an occasional fee in the
Yeah.
last 6 years.
Piecemeal judiciary fees got raised.
Yeah, I know there's some in healthcare too, but
So it's hard to, I don't know if it says that or not,
OPR.
but you can, oh yeah, OPR is a good one because
Yeah.
that's all fee supported. And maybe they've had to. So that was the other document that I wanted to be sure you had the benefit of knowing about, and if you'd like a copy, ask for it. Any other thoughts, Bill? You have anything
No.
more that comes to your mind?
Are we gonna get an update on how revenues are running generally?
Yeah,
Because
well, we're gonna have an e-board meeting, and I think it's Monday, Tuesday the 17th. And that'll be an update on the revenues. Because we know revenues are running higher.
Yeah.
Now, and of course, when we were building the budget last year, we anticipated higher revenues, short of the forecast coming in. So we actually had contingent funding for, I don't know, $75, $80 million, but it actually came in higher than that. So, and some of that will probably tie into the budget adjustment and what the governor will be proposing. Those are generally one time.
does that mean Tuesday that Tom Quebec will be in?
Well, that afternoon after e-board, that often happens, so. And we might want to think about doing something jointly with, I'll talk to Ian. Sometimes it's helpful if we can save him having to do the presentation twice. Yeah, so we do have an e-board, and that's when we'll get the revised forecast.
Oh,
For the
so that'll be
17th.
good then.
And the governor's.
Keep an eye on how money.
And then the governor's, oh, what day is that? I did.
Budget address?
20th.
20th.
Yes,
Yeah.
20.
It's a little suspicious.
Friday
On Friday afternoon. Drop it and then run out of town.
Okay, then, if there's nothing else, then, I think we can just call it a day or call it a week. And,
Right.
get started.
Rick,
What's that?
Thank you, Dick, did you have anything?
thank you. See you all Tuesday.
All right, see ya, Dad.
See you later.
So we'll adjourn and go